You have to accept.
Hold on.
Okay, hello and welcome to Jessica Hudson, who is our competitor interview for today. So thank you for being here, Jessica.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks for having me.
So you are in the Roanoke area, of course, which I've known you for quite a while, I guess. We competed together in, when was that? 2017.
2017. Yeah.
Yes, in 2017 in the Roanoke Star, the OCB Roanoke Star, we did that show together. And then you did not compete again, right? Until 2021?
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
Okay, so we're going to get into that in just a minute. But for the viewers who do not know anything about you, tell the viewers what you do when you are not competing, because you know everybody thinks, well, this is your life, and it probably is a good portion of it when you're prepping. But so what do you do?
So what I do right now currently is I work for studio for Richard and Robyn Goodpasture, and I help them, maintain and run their facility, which we have strength and conditioning classes, HIIT, personal training, and it's just a wonderful environment. So I work there full time, and then I personal train clients on the side, one-on-one, in addition to all of that.
So you're busy.
Oh yes. Oh my gosh.
And plus you're a mom.
I was to say, and then you add in the 2 kids and the husband and all the sports and, middle school sports, rec sports. It's always something. So
middle school's rough. I'm just saying, that's just my personal opinion. Middle school is rough. If you make it through middle school, Jessica, you're doing great.
We're almost there. We're almost there.
So, all right. So let's go back to 2017. You competed, and then tell me what your thoughts were after that first show. Like, what did you experience that maybe was, because like I want people to know that are watching this, like what to be aware of. So obviously I know you had Robyn there helping you, and she had been a competitor before, so she probably told you a lot of things. But what was your experience with the 2017 show?
Well, I think that I went into it completely blind on purpose. The less I knew, the better. Like, I only needed small chunks of information at once. And that helped me get through like the prep side of things. And then, the show day, it was just eye-opening because I didn't realize how much went into that day. Like, I thought all the work was the weeks and months leading up to that day, but then all the work that happens on that day and the stage presence, I just wasn't, not that I wasn't prepared, but I was very naive as far as what I should do to prepare for that part. So I realized that this was pretty awesome. When I got off stage, I was like, this is the coolest thing, because everybody was so awesome. Like the other competitors and people that are supporting you, and the relationships and the people that you meet. Like, I met you, I met Rhonda, I met all these awesome people that you just had this connection with. And it's a rare group of people that are going for the same kind of goal. So I just think that in the end, I was like, you know what, I need to get back into this. I need to do this again. And that's kind of what I knew I wanted to do eventually.
So what were you thinking? So after the 2017 show, so obviously, I mean, I agree with you 100%. And I think like when you're there, if you don't, I mean, there's so much to that day. I'm kind of on the front that, see, I like the whole prep to get there more than the actual day. And I think it's like the structure and challenging yourself, but there is so much, like literally, I could probably write a book about competition day, like what you need to know, what you need to prepare for.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. And I also think that when you're in that lean cutting phase, you have no brain. Like your emotions are everywhere. And then you're expected to remember to go to like the spray tan and go to the, where your hotel, like it's a lot of like dates and stuff that you're supposed to know. And then I just thought I was going to forget everything, because you're just like, I don't know where I'm coming or going or what time and where. And
it's dates and times. And then like, if you're doing the spray tan, then you have like the second coat if you have to go do this. And then you have to do this for touch-ups. And then if you're going to do makeups, you have to do this. And then if you're going to do hair, you have to do this. And it helps a lot, I think, if, you know, like you're lucky if you have someone like Robyn, right, who can help you. Yeah. But honestly, if you don't have like a coach to help you backstage, even just to have somebody help you keep track of where you need to be. So like Luke did his, he did the Yorton Cup in October. And so like I was his backstage coach, helper, whatever. And a lot of that is, you know, just keeping track of when you're going on, when you should be pumping up, when you need to have more food, if you need more carbs, blah, blah, that's just stuff that like it takes a while to learn, but certainly that is competition day is a whole nother world besides the prep itself.
Absolutely. And so I think that those first shows that I did in 2017, it was just like, that was the eye opener for me. I was like, oh my gosh, because you see it on like nowadays, like back in 2017, there wasn't as much on Instagram. There wasn't as much on Facebook. Those platforms weren't as big, or at least I didn't follow them. I didn't know. I think that the Roanoke Star created their page on the date that we started for that show that we were in. So it was like, you didn't know what to expect. And you see these, you know, beautiful men and women, and they're all tan and they all look put together. And you're like, oh, wow, that should be easy, but that's not the easy part.
So now, did you do another show in 2017?
I did the No Gear Classic, the OCB No Gear Classic in May. That was my very, very first show. And then I did the Roanoke Star I think they had it in October. In 2017.
October. Yeah. I like looking back at like because I did the No Gear Classic, but I didn't do it in 2017. I must have done it in 2016. I did it in 2016. So
I met you through Lisa doing posing for Roanoke.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's all such a blur. I swear, I can't keep up with what year. Luke's better at dates than me, but so okay. So after the No Gear Classic, so let's just back up to that one then. So from the No Gear Classic to the Roanoke Star in 2017, so like 5 months, right? Yeah. Something like that. So what did you think you needed to do differently between the two shows, like getting ready?
I didn't really put a lot of thought into it, if that makes sense. I was just like, I want to get back on stage. I want to try this again. And I just repeated the process that Robyn had taught me, and she coached me. And I was like, well, I want to do a little bit more posing practice and then that's how I met you, is, you know, we posed with Lisa, because prior to that, I don't know, or I don't recall if I had any posing like from a coach, even like Lisa, before getting on the No Gear Classic stage. I just kind of winged it with Robyn's help, but I was like, I don't need that. That's not important. That's not a big piece of it. And then,
I mean, I really feel like how important do you think posing is?
Oh, okay. So between 2017 and 2021, I will tell you that's the biggest piece that I invested in personally, because you can do all the right things in the gym. You can do the nutrition right. You can cut, but if you can't display and put it on a good show and make it look like it's supposed to look, and be confident in that ability. And it sounds funny, be confident and to move that body, because, you know, when you're doing figure, you have to stack everything. It's very rigid. It's not very natural. So I think that I've put a ton of more focus on that in the past, you know, from the past two shows to 2021. That's where I knew, I was like, that's where I need the help, because even if I have the mass, even if I have a good physique, if I can't show it, it means nothing.
Right. And it's like, I mean, I 100% agree. And I also think that the problem is your time on stage is so short. And if you don't look like everything flows and you hit those poses, like you could in your mind, I always tell people what you think looks right. Okay, so if I do a pose and it feels like normal, it does not look good at all. Like, no. Yeah. So you have to, like, to me, when everything feels the most awkward is probably when it looks the way it's supposed to, but you're supposed to make it look effortless, right? So, I mean, it takes, I would probably tell people that, like, and I have learned this, like, because I first did this like 2 decades ago. Like, I started when figure first came out. And I mean, I was clueless. Not only like in training, I did my first show in 2000. Okay, 2000. All right. I mean, I could look at, I don't even think I had a muscle flexed in my first poses. Like, I had no idea what was going on. And like, I bet you could invest, you probably could put in, like, if you're prepping for a show, if you start, like, let's say you start cutting 20 weeks out, you probably should at least start posing on a regular basis by 16 weeks. And I'm talking like weekly, if not daily.
Yeah, absolutely. And filming it and knowing what it looks like.
And it's the worst.
And you don't want to. And I mean, as someone that's competed before, if you know how lean your body is going to get, and then to pose when you're in that bulk or right at the beginning of that cut, it never looks the same. So it's not very, like, you're not like, oh, I really want to, you don't like it. And so to make yourself do it is hard, but I think that is worth the investment and worth getting over that little milestone. And then all that effort will pay off in the end.
Well, it's like I tell my clients who I tell to do progress pictures for me, like, I use an app, right? And I tell them to upload your progress pictures in the app. And I only do it like once a month at the beginning. And they don't want to take them. And I get it. You don't want to take it. And if you're in that off season or starting prep, you do not really want to see yourself in a suit. Like, I do it now and I hate it. Like, and I don't want to do it either, but
you know it's worth it.
But it helps you. It will help you. And it's like I tell people now, look, you don't have to look at them. You just need to let me worry about it, right? But when you're competing, you need to, because there can be things that maybe you just need a small adjustment now. And if you're working on it week to week, you can just a couple more weeks of practice could make all the difference in the world. But you do have to, you have to have that stage presence, and it's hard. And especially when you're first competing, because it's scary and you're nervous, but you're supposed to look so confident, So I have to tell people, look, pretend like you're an actress, right? You are playing someone else. Get outside of your own head.
Yep. And I also think that is a big piece of it, because when you step on stage and your body isn't even really your body anymore, because that's not what you want. You can't walk around like that every day. You can't look like that on a day-to-day basis. So when you're up there, it is you, but it's a different version of you, and it's a short-term version of you. And so your attitude and that spunk and that flair has to match it. You can't be, too concerned about what it is or what do I want to say, where you're doubting what you've put in. I always say that as soon as you step on stage, you've already won. It doesn't matter where you place, as long as you're on stage, because a lot of people can't even get on stage because of what's in their ears. Right. So I think that a huge piece of that is just standing up there and just owning that you are the best you that you can be. I don't have to beat you. I don't have to beat the person beside me. I'm beating me. And the difference in the shows. I would say that's the biggest piece. Is I took the pictures from the No Gear Classic, then the Roanoke Star 2017, and then the Roanoke Star 2021. And I was like, oh my gosh, that person, it's me, but the difference, they're different people.
It's so huge.
Which is cool.
It's so huge. Because in your mind, because I look back at probably the No Gear Classic in 2016 and compared that to I did because I did women's physique. I switched to women's physique in 2013, but 2016, I'm thinking that, in my mind, I'm exactly the same as the show I did I did the Max Muscle in 2020. And it's like, just the development that you can see. And like, if you don't get those pictures and you don't look and you don't compare, like you said, it's like, you don't know who's going to show up. You don't know who the judges are going to be. But if you beat your last stage package, you're there. Like, you just keep trying to beat that. That's why I keep competing. It's not to be like a pro. It's not, it's like, because I like the change in myself. And as long as I'm still seeing progress, I'm 50 years old now. But guess what? I'm still doing it because I think I can still be better than I was.
Absolutely. And I think that's delusional. And I think that's what's cool about this is it's a long-term, long commitment kind of sport, because you can't, yes, you can get on stage once and show once, but those of us that get bit by the bug, it's what we call it, you get bit by that bug of wanting to compete against yourself more. It's long term. And, Robyn showed, what was her show in Woodbridge this year? And she went, and the lady that won their category was 61 years old. And I was like, that is a new life goal for me. Like, when I'm 61, I would like to place first, not when. And I'm like, that's
same.
And it's so cool.
Not something that's short.
No, and it can't be a short-term investment, a short-term time and quick turnaround. It's a long-term grind that you just have to be okay doing.
Well, it's, it is such a lifestyle. Like, even the people who have come to me who want to compete, like, I would say 75% of the people who have approached me to want me to help them compete, they drop out in a month, because it is so hard, and you have to put in such a commitment that, like, once you're in it, it gets so much easier. But I remember in 2009. Okay. So, like, I did figure in 2000. I didn't compete again till like maybe 2002. And then after Carter was born, I competed like 2005. But then in 2009, I may have done a 7. I don't know. I was still competing, but it wasn't like I didn't have that this is my life mentality until 2009. And in 2009, I decided, okay, I'm gonna prep for a show in 2010. And this time, when the show is over, it's gonna be right back in to building for the next time, right?
Yeah.
And so from 2010 till now has been a solid almost 12 years. Well, it has been 12 years of build, and for how long I need to build. And I learned so much along the way. But I remember, like, in 2009, it was like chaos in my brain and everything was so terrible. And I know that that's why people do the one and done. Like, because they haven't learned. But if you can stick with it, there is so much you're going to learn about yourself, I think, and what you can handle.
Absolutely. And I would agree with that. I think that when I did the 2017 shows, it was just to get on that stage, and that was just it. And then prepping for this 2021 one, it was a different in the way I prepped. And the only thing is, it was more intentional. Like, I knew that everything added up over time. It wasn't, the 3 weeks before, the 4 weeks before. It was starting in April, like doing the right things to make it all pay out in September. And I was like, you know what? It was a hard cut because my body fat was the highest it had ever been in a long time, because I was at like 30% body fat. And to be a competitor, that's way past a normal bulk, and that was not bulk.
Right.
So I had to cut, I had to cut all of that down. And when I stepped on stage in September, I was only 19% body fat, but that's still on the high end, but I started at 30. So I know that when I go to compete again, it'll be easier. Right. It won't be easy. It'll be hard, but I won't have to have, I don't need to cut 12% body fat.
Yeah. To get it's so much harder when you have like I know like where I need to be on stage. And for me on stage, I have to be like 10%. And so right now I'm at like 16. So it's not terrible because I'm planning on April. But see, everybody holds it different, you know, and this is what I tell people, like, you can't judge like my percentage versus like Jessica's percentage. Cause like right now I've got a lot of fat in, like, I keep a lot of fat in my hips and my butt and my legs. Right. So that is always last, but everybody is going to be different. So what did you do? What did you do differently so when you were prepping for 2021, what would you say was the biggest thing that you did? Like, obviously you were intentional, but what did you do differently than you did in 2017? Anything like as far as, you know, just whatever for your prep, did you notice difference?
I know, like, I kept a better log of my weights, like journaling what I was lifting, making sure that I was getting the most out of my workouts. Number one, I think I started there first because, you know, I would think, okay, well, I'm going to go and do this machine. I usually use this amount of weight. And I would just think about, well, that's about right. Let me see if this is a little bit more here. So I got more intentional on journaling my actual workouts and saying, okay, well, if I was here and I've done this many weeks at this and it doesn't feel like it's too much, then I add more. And then the biggest thing was more time with posing. I spent way more money and time invested in posing, just because I knew I wasn't confident. Like, I can walk in heels, but I just couldn't do the posing well. So I think that was the biggest piece for me. Is I spent a lot more time with Lisa Hamm. I spent a lot more time, you know, in my heels at the house and trying to flex in the mirror and try to get it to what I thought it should be. So that was probably the number one thing that I think, you know, I was like, this is what I have to focus on.
Yeah, I've told people, look, if you're going to be in heels on stage, you should wear your heels like every week around your house. And I try to do like X amount of time per day, like just to walk around in them. I'm like, even if you're like vacuuming in your heels, like, look, you know, don't just do like the walk, do like all kinds of things. So it feels like second nature to be in those heels. Cause like, if you're a person like I am, and you too, it's not like you wear heels a lot in regular life.
No, not at all. So
I never do. It's like, okay, I mean, if I were to go to church or something and wear heels, but at this point, the way since COVID, the way that people dress, if I did go to church, I've been like virtual for daggone long, but I would be like stared at because if I had high heels on, it would be weird. It's so casual now. I'm like, okay, well, that's all right. I'll just go with that. But so, all right. So if you had a competitor, let's say there's a newbie, somebody who's just starting with competing, what would you recommend? I mean, obviously I feel like you would say work on your posing.
Yes.
But what else would you tell them? This is where I would say you should start.
Nutrition, of course, is huge. The lifting and the nutrition, all of it adds up together. And I think it's all equally important. Making sure you're measuring everything you put in your mouth, because I know that I like to only log what is good or what's on my meal plan. We all do, right? Not thinking that our bodies are there. The body's keeping a log of whatever we're doing. Whether or not you choose to admit it and put it in your macros is, you know, up to you, but your body is taking that on. So measuring your food is huge. That I got a digital food scale in 2017, and I've had the same one. And that's a big piece of it, because I think that we forget or don't realize how much we're not eating or how much we are eating, you know. So weighing your food and just getting in the habit of that, because meal prepping is huge. Weighing that food is huge. And then being intentional with making time for your lifts. And then just making sure you have a good support group. My husband's sitting over here beside me right now, making sure that, you know, your family is very supportive of it, of this sport, because it gets, it gets a little crazy towards the end. And if you haven't done it before, you're going to be really emotional because your body is doing things that you've never asked your body to do. So making sure that you have somebody that can help support you through that process too is super important.
Right. Yeah. And I think, that's so important, because if you're with a person who does not get, you have to be very self-centered when you're prepping. Like it's, and it's not that you can't make time for your family, but it's just like a lot of people don't understand the time that it takes to log food even. To just like know that that's how your life goes.
Absolutely.
And and if you do have a supportive person that you live with, it makes all the difference, because I've been on both ends, and I've been on the end of being with two different that did not support me, or it was very like, it's hard.
It's hard for the people to understand. And thankfully, like my husband, the first show, he didn't really understand. He didn't understand like why, and he would eat cheese fries in front of me, and he still laughs to this day. He goes, "I'm surprised you didn't kill me." And I was like, "I wanted to, but I love you too much." And then this time around, he actually started logging all of his food with me. And like he didn't do a bodybuilding diet. He didn't follow it as strict, but he weighed and measured all of his lunches. He helped me with breakfast. He helped me with dinner, and he made sure that we were hitting all the things that I needed. And he wouldn't be as anal as I was being, but he lost like 30 pounds himself. So he started to realize how it all kind of comes together, which I thought was neat. So then now moving forward, because I'll compete again in 2022, he's like, "When do we start again? Like when can we get back to this?" And so it's great, awesome, because then you have somebody that's like there help pulling you, versus someone that's like, "Why are we doing this? Is dumb. Why aren't you drinking alcohol? Why can't we go out to eat every night?" Like,
I know, right? And then it's so stressful if you're with somebody who's like, "Well, I don't understand. You should just eat this anyway, or you should do this."
Or it's just one bite. It's just one meal. It's not just. It adds up. So
well, it's just like when you don't track and you have all, like the worst I see is like people with like liquid calories, and it can be alcohol. It could be like your specialty coffees or whatever, and it's like, if you can get hundreds of calories just like that.
Thousands. Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So what is your next show?
Hoping to do the No Gear Classic again in May of 2022. That's kind of the big plan. I've been working on, I'd never got feedback. This is one thing that I think is kind of cool. In 2017, I never asked judges for feedback after getting off stage. I know they tell you should, and I just not that I didn't care. I was there for different things. I was like, I'm not worried about the feedback. This time in 2021, I got feedback, and it made me cry, because I knew all the things that they said were true, and I was already self-conscious about those few things that they said. So as soon as I got off that stage, I was like, I have to do another one, and I'm going to work on these things, because they told me my posing was very weak. Although I spent a lot more time doing it. I was too not conditioned, also known as too fluffy. So it was just this weird, and I'd put a lot of work in. And so moving towards 2022, I was like, I really want to start doing something different. So I reached out to some people I've made contacts with at that show in Roanoke Star, and ended up finding a wonderful lady that's in New Jersey that is coaching me for posing. And I have seen such a world of difference. I've been working with her since October, even though I'm not showing until May of 2022. I'm already working on that piece, because I know that's where it needs to happen.
So who is this? Would you like to give her a shout out?
Shannon Kelly. She just won Worlds in Vegas. I can't remember which organization, all the World Bodybuilding National Federation.
Probably WBFF.
Yes, something like that. She just won #1 in Vegas in November for figure. And it's just
what's her name again?
Shannon Kelly.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll send you. Yeah, she's wonderful. And she has a really good sense of style of coaching and outlook on this. And she knows it's a long-term game. It's not, a short and fast kind of thing. And then just the experience, I think, is wonderful. And she also is showing currently, which is also very helpful because, having someone in the game with you, even if they're not in the same, brand or district as you are, it's just awesome.
Yeah.
To have that.
It's really good. So that's really good. So is there anything else you would like to share with the viewers about your journey or anything?
No, I would just say that just keep doing the things. If you're interested in this sport, if you're interested in making this a lifestyle, keep doing it, even on the days that you don't feel like it, even if your nutrition's off. Because over time, it was a lot of time between 2017 and 2021. That I could have just said, I'm never doing this again, but it was always in the back of my mind that I wanted to do it, and just making the right choices and helping leading you that way, and surround yourself with people that have the same kind of goals, that are very bold and look forward and are pushing themselves, because you kind of will pull yourself along too while they're doing their thing, just because you want to be in that same, that same peer group. So.
Well, that is excellent advice, Jessica. And thank you so much for being here. And viewers, if you have questions or comments for Jessica, feel free to post them below. I post this on YouTube, and I'll be sure to tag you when I do. But I also, it will be up shortly. And so we welcome any questions or comments, and look forward to seeing you back on stage in 2022, Jessica.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right.
Bye, guys. See ya.